During the Clone Wars, the Jedi Order fought on the front lines against the CIS, leading the Grand Army of the Republic as generals across thousands of battlefields. The Jedi were indispensable to the Republic war effort. Even though many Jedi generals were mediocre tacticians at best, the Jedi's charisma, decisiveness, and legendary status boosted morale and helped unify the Republic's military forces. But in Clone Wars media, it's sometimes unclear how the Jedi actually fit into the Republic's ranking system. Sure, they're called generals, but they're also shown commanding naval task forces, and both certain recruited officers and other parts of the Republic government are shown to have authority above them. So, what gives? In this video, we'll be explaining the role of Jedi generals in depth.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
The concept of Jedi generals didn't start with the Clone Wars. The Jedi collaborated with the Republic military throughout the age of the Old Republic, particularly during the wars with the Sith. In several wars, the Jedi were essentially deputized into Republic service as Mercy Corps, which allowed the Jedi to fight for the Republic but as part of their own separate unit. The first time Jedi were known to have been directly integrated into the Republic's military hierarchy was during the Mandalorian Wars, when members of the Jedi sect known as the Revanchists became the first Jedi generals. Unlike with the Clone Wars, during the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Order as a whole did not participate in the fighting. Rather, against the wishes of the Jedi Council, certain Jedi broke away from the Order at the behest of Revan and Malak, a pair of charismatic young Jedi Knights who believed the Jedi should help the Republic stop the Mandalorians. After the Council reluctantly granted sanction to these Jedi Crusaders, the Revanchists, the Supreme Chancellor gave them formal military ranks. Revan and Malak became the Supreme Commanders of the Republic military, while their followers were given the rank of General. These Jedi Generals were usually assigned to particular units, and like the Jedi Generals of later wars, they commanded naval forces as well as ground armies, though usually in cooperation with non-Jedi admirals and other naval officers. By the end of the Mandalorian Wars, all of these Jedi generals had died, fallen to the dark side, or were Mitra Surik, who was a special case. The survivors betrayed the Republic and joined now Darth Revan's new Sith Empire. In response, the rest of the Jedi Order joined the Republic military to fight these new Sith, but unlike the Revanchists, they weren't made official Jedi generals. Instead, these Jedi, as well as the Jedi who fought in the later Old Sith Wars, appeared to function as their own unit, parallel to, but not directly part of, the Republic military. This pattern changed again a few thousand years later during the New Sith Wars. Over the course of the New Sith Wars, the Jedi became increasingly involved in managing the rapidly crumbling Republic. They became generals again, and more besides. As the new Sith Wars went on, the Republic came to rely entirely on the Jedi for leadership, to the point that there was a period of several hundred years where every Supreme Chancellor was also the Grand Master of the Order. The Jedi absolutely carried the Republic during this period, especially during the new Sith Wars' final century. The last 100 years of the new Sith Wars were known as the Republic Dark Age, as during it, the Republic all but ceased to exist outside of the core worlds. Most of the galaxy fell into anarchy, unclaimed by both the Republic and the Sith. In many of these struggling sectors, the Jedi took command. Jedi Watchmen assigned to protect these remote sectors were given formal titles and political power by what remained of the sector government, becoming Jedi Lords. These Jedi Lords had their own personal armies and states, and they led the fight against the Sith during the final, desperate years of the new Sith Wars. The Jedi Lords eventually united into the Army of Light and managed to defeat the Sith entirely, saving the Republic in the process. After the new Sith Wars, the Republic underwent drastic reforms to address the problems that had led to its near collapse, including the decentralization of most of the formal Republic military. As part of these reforms, the Republic altered its relationship with the Jedi Order. The Jedi Order was made a formal part of the Republic government, and it abolished the Army of the Light and the institution of Jedi Lords to become part of the Republic Judicial Forces. The Judicial Forces were the last remnant of the centralized Republic military, a relatively small task force under the command of the Senate that would be sent in to intervene in conflicts the local planetary defense forces couldn't handle alone. As part of the judicial forces, the Jedi were formally deputized indefinitely, given license to act on behalf of the Senate and the Republic as a whole. Of course, it also meant that the Jedi Order was subject to orders from the Galactic Senate, which invited all sorts of problems, especially when the Separatist crisis began. The Jedi Order's formal role in the judicial forces meant that, when the Clone Wars broke out, the Jedi were expected to fight. At the start of the war, the judicial forces were rolled into the Grand Army of the Republic, and that included the Jedi. At the behest of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, the Jedi became leaders of the Grand Army of the Republic, which each member of the Order granted formal commissions and integrated into the military's command structure. After this decree, every Jedi was enlisted into the GAR, apart from those who refused to fight and instead left the Order. Many Jedi were disturbed or displeased with the situation, but they went along with it anyway, seeing no real alternative. Before we get into the various Jedi ranks, note that not all Jedi that joined the GAR were officers. Some Jedi served as spies or healers, though they were often considered informal generals by the clone troopers they worked with. However, most Jedi above a certain age were part of the GAR's command structure and were given one of 4 ranks: Jedi Commander, Jedi General, Jedi Senior General, and Jedi High General. In each of these roles, Jedi officers were assisted by clone liaisons with whom they shared command of their respective units. The rank of Jedi Commander was reserved for Padawans. This was a rather unique rank. Technically, Jedi Commanders led battalions or regiments in the GAR depending on their seniority or, in rare cases, commanded individual Republic Navy ships. However, since all Jedi Commanders were Padawans of Jedi Generals, they rarely exercised tactical command in their own right, instead typically acting as representatives of their masters. The Master-Padawan relationship meant that the authority afforded to the rank of Jedi Commander was subjective and frustratingly inconsistent, varying wildly from case to case. Generally, they outranked all clone officers, but they were outranked in turn by all other Jedi. Jedi Generals were a bit simpler. Most Jedi were given the rank of General, including all Jedi Knights and all but 30 or so Jedi Masters. Depending on seniority, Jedi Generals usually commanded brigades or corps in the GAR, or occasionally squadrons of battle groups in the Republic Navy. The Jedi Generals of the Clone Wars acted in much the same role as the Jedi Generals of the Mandalorian Wars. Usually, they were traditional generals, but they also had authority in all aspects of the Republic military, including the Navy. This was a source of frustration for many Republic naval officers who often saw the Jedi as incompetent and an affront to the traditions of the Navy. There were also 2 higher Jedi ranks, Senior General and High General. 20 elite Jedi Masters were given the rank of Senior General, while High General was reserved for the Masters of the Jedi Council. They oversaw broad theaters of GAR operations and, technically, they commanded the Sector and Systems armies, the largest divisions of the GAR. The Senior Generals each commanded one of the 20 Sector armies alongside that Sector army's Moff, while the High Generals commanded the 10 Systems armies, units composed of 2 Sector armies that essentially existed solely for the benefit of the Jedi Council. Through these large administrative units, these high-ranking Jedi Generals oversaw wide swaths of the galaxy and were responsible for dividing up and organizing units within their theaters. Together, the High Generals made up the Jedi Council, which oversaw the war effort as a whole. However, the Council was not the highest level of Republic military authority. As part of the judicial forces, the Jedi answered to the Senate and, increasingly, to the Supreme Chancellor. It was Palpatine who had the GAR's highest rank, that of Supreme Commander, and he and the Moffs he appointed to help manage the war had authority equal to, or in some cases higher, than the Jedi Council. So that's our look at Clone Wars era Jedi military ranks. But what do you think? Would you like to know more about any of the other topics we mentioned in this video? Let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.